What's up, mamas? Thank you so much for being here with us. Right now, for this session, we have Amanda Krill. She's a speaker and an author, and she's going to be talking about taming your chaos. And that is something that every single mom needs help with, I'm sure. Amanda, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
And you're in Ohio right now with lots of snow with all your children. Is that chaos or what?
Well, it's not so bad. My kids are all teenagers now, so it's more fighting over the TV and me yelling at them about you've watched too much TV. So that's where we're at the moment. And two of them are virtual schooling. So like when school is in session, I'm used to them being around now. Before it was like, I can't wait for them to go to school, but it's been not so bad with the virtual school stuff, but you know, like it's a lot of togetherness right now.
Yes.
So,
which is good and bad, right? Is good and bad.
Right. Exactly.
So how many kids do you have, Amanda?
I have 3. My oldest is 18, my daughter is 16, and my youngest son is 15.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you're in the age where you can take naps and all that, but you're dealing with all the teenage drama. So
I am, but I started my business when they were little. Like my oldest was 3 when I started my business. So, I mean, I have been there, done that with all the way through, like from diapers all the way through. I've been, trying to do all of the things. So I just happen to be now at a place where they're easier, like technically, but also, teenage drama. So not easier.
Well, yes, seriously. Well, let's jump into that. Tell us a little bit about your story and how and why you started your business.
Well, it's a story. And my book is actually about that. So that's another side story. But if you want more information on it, there's the book. But I started it when my kids were super little, and it was out of necessity, not out of passion. It's not because I started as a virtual assistant, and it wasn't because I wanted to be a virtual assistant. It was because I needed money. And, I was married and we had the 3 little kids. My husband was a teacher, but I wasn't working a full-time job, but I was spending money like I was working a full-time job. And I did a mystery shopping gig for a while, which is an actual thing you can really do, and got myself into a lot of debt, like $64,000 worth of credit card debt that my husband didn't know about. So, yeah.
Whoops.
And I mean, he's a teacher and we're all stressed out because our kids are little. And, when the kids are little, everybody's stressed out. And I just felt like I couldn't put that on him. I did this, I'm going to fix it. So I started writing for a few websites and then saw a Craigslist ad, oddly enough, which I know now don't get jobs on Craigslist, but 14 years ago, not such a bad thing. But it was for a virtual assistant, and I had been an administrative assistant / producer at a TV station for a few years before I had kids. And I was like, well, I can do that online. If I could do it in person, I can do it online. So I just reached out to the guy and was like, hey, I'm the person you're looking for. So he hired me.
Wow.
And it kind of snowballed. I ended up getting more and more clients. And then I got to a point where I was working with a gal who was actually a pretty big name in the internet marketing world now. And she but at the time she was only paying me like $12 an hour and she had no big budget. She wasn't big yet. So she's like, I can pay you or I can pay a web designer. I can't pay both. Do you think you can do this? And I'm like, heck yes, I can. But I didn't. I mean, like I had no idea.
YouTube
at all. But I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I taught myself how to do web design and then eventually moved my business into just doing web design. I paid the debt off in under 3 years with my business and then continued like for the last little over 12 years, I've been just doing web design and paying the bills that way and, running my business. And then I decided to write the book about the debt story because I feel like there's so many women, well, not just women, people everywhere have debt and they have this shame around it. And I don't think that it's something that we should be shameful about because we literally all do it. So, just do it. You did it. Okay, fix it. It's not that big of a deal. So I wrote the book and I, started doing the speaking stuff because I really feel like people need to see that, I've been through this, other people have been through this, and you can get through it. It's not a big deal. And you can do it even with the little kids. You can do all the things. You don't have to wait or, put things off just because you have kids.
Well, good for you. Oh my gosh, I love that story. I love that you took it on yourself. Like, hey, I did this. I'm going to get myself out of it. I think that's incredible. So how did you do that with your small kids at home?
Oh, I worked literally every second that I could, but also it was really hard. I'm not going to lie. It was like really, really hard because they obviously need attention. They were 3, 2, and 6 months old. So like I would try my best to get them all to nap at the same time during the day so I could grab that time. And, I often stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning because I wasn't getting sleep anyway. So what's the difference? Right. And, just kind of made it work. And looking back from where I am now, I'm not sure how I did it, but I did it. So
how am I here?
Exactly. I don't know how I made it, but I did it. So it's definitely not easy, but it's doable.
But you can do it. You made the time and made it happen.
Yeah.
So you have a little, I don't know if it's a program or an article called Tame the Chaos. Yes. And what is the first tip to help moms do that, tame the chaos?
Well, it actually took me almost a decade to figure this out. And I actually did it kind of accidentally. But what I found for me, and it actually, like I've tested it on other women, so I know that it works. But taking care of yourself first is the most important thing. And it doesn't have to be like, taking 3 or 4 hours out of the day to take a hot bath and like somebody else take care of the kids. But just the way I have fit it into my day is that I get up before everybody else. And I make sure that I take the time to work out and journal and talk to God and do all of these things to take care of myself before everybody gets out of bed. And it sets a tone for the whole day. So when I do, and in the last few months have been hard to do that because of the, everybody's home so much and different schedules. And I haven't been great at it. And it's come back to me more and more and more that when I don't do my morning ritual, the whole day just like falls apart around me. But when I do it, it doesn't necessarily mean the day is going to be perfect, but it does set the tone for me and everybody else because they get up and I'm already like dressed and in a good mood and ready to go for the day instead of, like trying to force my eyes awake and be nice to everybody first thing in the morning when I don't want to be. So it seems kind of counterintuitive, like, make yourself get up really early. And it doesn't have to be really early. I mean, when my kids were super little, I had to get up like by 5 o'clock before everybody else got up, which was hard. It really sucked, but it really, really changed, everything about every day. Like it just really did.
That's incredible. And I have heard that a lot from a lot of moms, especially a lot of working moms, that they need that time to, not even working moms, every mom needs to get up and they need that alone time, that time to themselves. And another thing you also talk about is how clutter in your home can reflect a lack of growth. Explain that a little bit.
Okay. Clutter is something we all deal with. Like, even if your house is super clean, you have those zones of clutter. And, my house isn't super clean because I have teenagers and we have clutter everywhere. And it's something I have to stay on top of all the time. But when you have these areas of clutter, it causes you to like feel all chaotic, really. I mean, that's the way I describe the way I feel. Like I see it and I turn and walk the other way. I just like completely avoid it. When my office is a mess, I can't go in there and work. I go sit somewhere else and just avoid it. But I have realized that clutter is like representing something in your life, like something that you're avoiding, something that you aren't wanting to deal with. And so for me, with my business, it often ends up being, I have a client who isn't ideal or is causing me a lot of stress. And that clutter really represents this client. And when I clear out that clutter or get rid of that client, it's like everything clears back up and everything is moving again. And I don't feel stressed anymore. But it always starts with the clutter. Like I see the clutter and I'm like, okay, something is blocked. Something needs to get moving again. So I clean that up first, then try to figure out what it is that I'm feeling stressed about, deal with that and move on. And a really perfect example was last year, my business was slow at the beginning of 2020. even before the pandemic happened, it was a little bit slow. And I had one client who was paying me very regularly, was giving me lots of work, but also every time she emailed me, I ignored it for 2 or 3 days because I knew as soon as I responded to her, it was going to like just erupt into chaos. But she was paying really regularly. So how, like, like not everybody pays on time. And
right.
I liked her. She just stressed me out. And so I was just not dealing well with it. And my office was getting cluttered up and I was just avoiding that space. And I finally decluttered my office and then realized I really have to fire her. Like I really have to not work with her anymore. And I was scared because, she was the only steady money coming in, but she was stressing me out. So I finally just had a chat with her and I'm like, we can't work together anymore. I really like you as a person, but it's just not working out for me. And a week later, I got 3 new clients after I fired her. So it's like the clutter represents something in your life that isn't right, isn't something that you're addressing. And as soon as you fix that and then figure out what you're not addressing, it's like the floodgates open and all good things come flowing in. That's been my experience.
I have never thought about it that way, but I think you're totally right. When things are organized in your life, whether it's in your home or in your work life with your family, it's helped things a lot. It totally de-stresses you, which is so important. I love that.
It's impossible to work with people when you're like, that's one real thing that I notice is if I'm not responding to a client quickly, there has to be a reason because that's like, I just do that. I don't like to leave things hanging. So if I'm not responding, I'm like, why am I not responding? Like, take a look at that. And then when I saw how cluttered my office was, I was like, oh yeah, something's not good here.
Something's got to change.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, something that I'm currently experiencing, and I think a lot of moms do, whether you have a newborn baby or teenagers, is something called mom brain. I have an almost 2-year-old and a newborn baby, and you have 3 teenagers. And I'm sure we are equally in the same state every once in a while. How do you protect yourself from mom brain?
So I found the best way to do that is just to have a planner. And I don't, you can have an online planner if that works for you. But for me, I found like I have to have one that I can write things down in. Like I have to physically get it out of my head and onto paper. And it helps me remember it better for some reason, but it also gives me a place that I can go back and every day check and say, okay, what am I forgetting? What, needs to be turned in? And secondary side note is that I also have a practice I try to do called touch it once. So like when the kids bring a form home and I just stick it in the stack, like there's no way it's going to ever happen. So I have to like do it right then, even if it's interrupting something. And I have to just touch it one time, do whatever I need to do, give it back and move on because the mom brain is a real thing and things get lost very easily if you don't address them immediately. So that's my best tip is a paper planner that really allows with lots of space where you can write down everything, make lists, whatever you need to do to get it out of your head. It also helps you sleep better. So that it like alleviates all kinds of issues that moms are having.
I love that. Everything's in one spot. So if you forget it, you know exactly where to find it. I think that's a phenomenal idea. I love that. So you obviously are very goal oriented and with your business and everything that you do. What is the importance of setting goals, do you think?
Well, it gives you something to push for is the number one thing. But back when I started my business, my main goal was to pay off the debt. I didn't really have anything after that. And I actually did an interview back right after I had paid off my debt. I don't think the entity even exists anymore, but it sticks with me that I said this because she asked me what was next, what my next goal was. And I said, I'm not going to set one because I feel like I set this goal for the debt to pay it off. And God took me somewhere even bigger and better than I had ever imagined. So I'm just going to see what happens, see where he takes me next. And nothing happened. Like I flatlined, went limbo, nothing was going on because I had no goal to work towards. It's like,
right.
It's kind of like that saying, God helps those who help themselves. I don't even know if it's actually in the Bible or whatever, but it really is true. You have to be like moving towards something and then he expands all the possibilities and all these amazing things happen. that you never dreamed of. I mean, I started out to pay my debt and ended up working with people all over the world. I've had clients in Australia. I had a client in Norway who actually flew me to Norway to speak at an event she was having, and then let me stay in her house in France. And another client had exchanged a website for a yoga retreat in a castle in Italy that I got to go to. And it was just like, all these crazy, awesome things have happened that I never would have planned for, just because I had this one goal that I started working towards. So, but it's that goal and the moving forward towards it is what really opens the possibilities. When you're just sitting there waiting for God to bring something to you, it's like nothing's ever going to happen. Not ever, but it's easier for him to work in your life when you're moving forward. And then he's like, oh, hey, here's this. Oh, hey, here's this. And, otherwise you're just sitting on the couch doing nothing, waiting. So goals are important, very important.
Well, definitely. You got to take the first step and then to go from there. You talked about the difference between goals and dreams. What's the difference between those two?
So I feel like a goal is something that you are like making continual motion towards. And I think a lot of people get hung up in those things, in that motion because they're waiting for things to be perfect or waiting for themselves to be perfect or waiting for something to be perfect. And I want all women everywhere and dads too, they can be included in this, that it's imperfect action moving forwards towards your goals that really takes you where you need to be. But the dreams are, I almost want to say like the bigger picture. Like at some point I have a dream of, actually I have a plan, actually I have a goal on this, but before yesterday, it was just a dream. I wanted to live in Scotland for at least 6 months before I turn 50, which is in like 5 years. So like that's been a dream of mine. And I decided to set a goal of the year I'm 49, I'm going to live in Scotland for 3 months. I also have had this dream of owning a building here locally in Defiance, Ohio for 5 years. Like I saw this building, fell in love with it. And I was just like, someday I'm going to own that building. And I don't know how, and it's not for sale. So I don't know what, and I don't know what I'm going to even do with it, but I'm going to own that building. And then in the last year, it's kind of turned into a goal of, I'm actually in the process of buying it, and I'm going to turn it into a co-working space for women here in Northwest Ohio. So it's like the dreams are like these bigger things that I want someday. And then at some point they turn into a goal, but you got to like think big to keep yourself moving forward.
I love that. I love that you have big dreams. I think that's so important. What is the difference that you've seen in yourself, not necessarily like physically, like starting your own business, but when you started setting goals, what differences did you see even within yourself and your confidence as well?
It definitely helps confidence to have a goal set that you're moving towards. And there are times when it like lowers your confidence a little bit because something didn't work out quite the way that you thought it would. But in general, it boosts it. It helps you be more bold. And that's my whole mantra is just boldly go, and setting those goals, moving towards them with imperfect, actions, and doing it boldly in a way that it just empowers you. And I think the even bigger thing is that it empowers your kids because they see you moving towards your goals, and it helps them learn how to set goals and learn how to move it towards them also. That's actually what my real goal about everything is, helping women understand how impactful they are on their children's lives. Like they need to see you doing these crazy, bold, awesome things, because otherwise, how are they going to learn how to do it for themselves?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, what the impact has been on your children. Do you have any stories of things that you've seen from them since you've been doing this?
I do. My oldest son, he was 3 when I started my business, and he's about to go off to college, which is the most heartbreaking thing that's ever happened to me. We just visited Georgia State University last week, and that's where he's going, which is 10 hours away. And it's the worst, but he's going to film school. And he wants to movie. And the other day he said to me, he's like, and I swear he said this, I'm not making it up, and it made me cry when he said it. He's like, you have to understand, like, I'm doing this. I'm going after this thing that I wanted to. And I started writing screenplays and stuff because I saw you writing. And if you can do it, why can't I do it? And I'm just like, oh, he got it. Oh my Like it's the most exciting thing because it's like I'm just trying to live it without like forcing it down their throats. But they see it. They really see it. And they're actually doing it. My daughter is 16 and she's an artist and she's amazing. And she's painted murals on her bedroom wall. And she's like, the other day, she's like, I realize I don't think I can like work a real job. I'm going to have to start a business. And I'm like, let's do it. Like, it's so great. And then
I even have a building.
Exactly. I have a plan. Like she's already going to paint a mural on it. And my youngest son is much more like his dad, who has left teaching, actually. I left that out of the story. He left teaching because he hated it after he realized I was making a lot more money than he realized I was making. So he is a construction guy now. He does, home construction for people. And my youngest son is much more like him than like me. But he just started a woodworking business. Like he just started his Etsy store 3 days ago. So it's like, it's so exciting to see them, do things on their own within their own personality and what they're good at. But like, they're not afraid. They just put the stuff out there and it's like, oh, it's so exciting.
I love that. That is so cool. I feel like that's like every mom's dream is to hear their children say that, like, I saw you do it, so I can do it too, That makes you feel so good. That's so awesome. I love that. So what would be your number one takeaway when it comes to taming the chaos for moms?
Well, I really want all moms to understand that you're never going to get rid of the chaos. There's no way to get rid of it. It's just always going to be there. But you have to continually make forward motion in spite of it. Do what you can. Like, I have the morning ritual that I do to kind of set the tone for the day. Try to keep the house decluttered just because it takes away stress. Setting goals, using a planner, all of these things are designed to help you tame the chaos. But like I said, there's always going to be some element of it, but you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep taking imperfect action. Stop waiting for everything to be just right. Stop waiting for things to be, everything to be, I guess the way I want to say it is we all have this thing in our head. Like when I was going to have kids, I said, I don't want to have kids until this, and this are in place. Didn't happen. Like those things are like never going to happen. Like you just have to jump in and figure it out along the way and not hold yourself back. I actually have a perfect story on this. A friend of mine, I went to college with her and her daughter just went off to college last year. She's alone. Her husband left and whatever. I don't know what's going on with that, but like she's alone right now. She kind of lives near people, that have been with her for the last 20 years, friends, close friends and whatnot. But she was looking online and found some sanctuary actually in Utah where you are, that is hiring people. It's like an animal sanctuary. And she saw it and she's like, this is my dream job. I have wanted to be in this place and work at that place for so many years, but I'm too scared. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the perfect time in your life to go after that thing. And she's like, but I can't leave like these people who have been close to me all these years. And I'm like, they're still going to be there. This is what Zoom is for. Like, you can still talk to people. God put that right in front of you. You saw it. Why would you not at least apply? Like, go for it. And it's that making excuses and finding ways to not go through with the things that God's obviously putting right in front of your face, that I think that's where a lot of us are falling short. Like you're going to have your chaos, keep moving forward, even with it, but go after these things that are crazy and awesome, but have been things that you've always wanted to do.
That's so awesome. Would you say part of the motivation is not having regrets towards the end of your life? And you're like, I wish I would have done this and this.
Absolutely. And that's a really good example for the building that I'm buying. It's been a long road and it's a beautiful place, but it's been gutted and it's going to take me well over $100,000 to actually get the whole building ready and going again. And there have been points along the way where I'm like, this is too scary. I can't do this. I don't know how I just can't do this. But then I wait like 10 minutes and I'm like, if I don't do this, I am going to regret it for the rest of my life. I know it's just a building, but like I'm in love with it. And I've known since the moment I saw it that it was going to be mine. And this is my opportunity. And if I don't take it, I'm going to be kicking myself for the rest of my life. So that's a real motivator for me, is the whole regret thing, for sure.
Ooh, I love that. I think you are such a good example of going after what you want and doing it with a smile on your face. You seem so happy and cheery. I absolutely love it. So the theme of our conference is Confessions of an Imperfect Mother. So do you have a personal story of something you can share where you felt less than perfect of a mother along this journey of yours?
Absolutely. I mean, the whole running of the business has made me feel like a bad mom because I've not prioritized it by any means. I mean, they're all along the way. If the kids needed something, I drop what I'm doing and I do what they need done. But I also feel like when they think of me, it's with a laptop in front of my face and like the glow of the laptop on my face. And I don't, I've always felt like I could have been a better mom. I could have been a more nurturing mom. I could have, just there's all kinds of things that you second guess about the way that you did things. But, there's no perfect mom. So, I have to just like do what I can every day. And when there's a point where I realize I should have done that better, then I try to just do it better the next time and not beat myself up too much about it. And they're all teenagers now, and like they aren't bad, like the worst people. So I think
you're like, I did something right.
I must have done at least a little bit of it right. So yeah, I mean, it's hard being a mom, though. It's really hard, and you always are going to compare yourself to everybody around you. But you got to do your thing and do it the way you were built to do it. So
I love that. And I think that's a perfect way to end this. No mom is perfect. You just try your best and then try even better the next day. I like that you said that. You're like, if I did something wrong today, I'll try better tomorrow. I think that's such a good message. Amanda, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here with us. If some of the listeners or viewers want to get more information from you, where can they go to get that?
Well, my website is justboldlygo.com. And I'm everywhere on all the socials as /Amanda Krill, just Amanda Krill. So I'm all over the place. So you can find me pretty easily.
Okay, perfect. Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rich Christensen, and through the years of entrepreneurship and growing crazy businesses, I lost a view of what was really important. Through a series of really tender experiences, my mentor taught me you can replace anything in this world, but you cannot replace your family. So I made a dramatic pivot and started embedding deeply in my family some of the same principles that applied to business. My wife and I began very deliberately parenting. We looked for models, how not to mess our children up. There were really no good models to teach values, to entrench family unity, and to make sure that the values passed on in legacy to my children, and more importantly, my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So like every great entrepreneur, I secretly created my own models. I was very hesitant to talk about it, but a few of my closest friends saw the impact that this was having on my children. I decided to take the processes that I used and create an online course so others could also work with their families to create tighter bonds, build confidence and self-esteem, while constructing a gorgeous legacy that they could live on past our lifetime. With this 5-part digital training series, you'll find the single most important lessons of thought leadership that I've ever created. There's 5 critical parts to this series, each with its very unique function. The first is symbols, creating unifying symbols that we all can touch to. Second is the doctrine, the guiding principles that we can tag and understand what the rules are. The third is the traditions or the rituals, where we actually formalize and we unite and show that we're unified with the values. The fourth, my favorite, the defining life events. The final section of this is the structure. What do the really wealthy families do to preserve their wealth and to pass on in the form of family banking? To pass on how you appropriately set up the will and how you embed your family constitution so that these values permeate and pass on. I can tell you firsthand that taking these steps to create a beautiful life for my family is the most important work that I've ever done, and also the most rewarding. I would invite you to learn some of these principles, unify your family, bond them, and take some of the guesswork out of this. And I'm going to provide you the framework to make that happen with this 30 years of life experiences. So join me, get your membership to build family legacies today.